why are histamines important? So they are actually a key player of your immune system. But what are they? So histamines are molecules that serve several purposes. And depending on where they are in the body, they can act as hormones or neurotransmitters. And really, their mission is to regulate biological functions. And they allow certain cells to share information. But more importantly, like I said, histamines really play a crucial role in regulating your immune system. They also regulate certain functions in the digestive tract, like producing gastric acid in the stomach. So not only that, but they also are very important for regulating certain cycles in your body, like sleep. So if we have histamine issues, we may also have sleep issues, and our sleep cycles may be less stable if we've got some histamine issue. So your body needs histidine, which is an amino acid that helps us to produce histamines. Well, where do we get histidine? Histidine is actually an amino acid that we are going to get from consuming protein. You need to have histamines in your body that are functioning properly in order to regulate a lot of these systems, a lot of these signals that are going on in the body. But when we get this imbalance of histamines, this is where things kind of fall off the rails. So once you have ingested, chewed up your burger, enough histamines, your body produces, or histidine, your body produces histamines through a process called decarboxylation. We are not going to dig into that because this is not a chemistry class. But this process happens in two components of the immune system called mast cells and basophils. So some of you may have heard, and I get this question a lot, about mast cell activation syndrome. We're going to talk about that a little bit more. But we really want to know, like, what is that main purpose of histamine? Like, why is it important? Why do we need that? So the main purpose of histamine is to cause inflammation in the body. Yes, inflammation is actually an important part of your immune system. It's when that inflammation and that those histamines become dysregulated that we start to see problems. So this response helps isolate foreign and problematic agents, pathogens, whatever you want to call them, so that your body can fight them off more effectively. On the other side of the coin though, is that when this doesn't working properly, this is when we're having these allergic reactions. And so we associate histamines with a lot of allergic reactions like migraine headaches, digestive symptoms like diarrhea, flushed skin, hives, rashes, worsening eczema, congested, runny, itchy, watery eyes and nose. Histamines are released by mast cells. So when I talk about, some of you may ask about MCAS, mast cell activation syndrome, we aren't getting all of the information. We aren't really looking deeper at what is going on, what is happening. So how do histamines really impact our tic disorders? So recent studies actually show that histamine dysregulation can cause an increase in tics in some people. But again, they're missing a big piece of the puzzle. So we could simply write it off and sweep it under the rug and say, just histamines we have a histamine issue. We're just going to have to deal with the tics. We're going to ignore it. We're just going to sweep it under the rug, which is what most of us at this point have been told is, just ignore your child's symptoms, sweep it under the rug. It's just histamines, can't do anything about it, and most doctors aren't even going to consider histamines an issue anyway, but that's a different story. But this is really very true for Danielle's daughter, Natalia. Natalia is our youth advocacy president. And when she came to me, she had she had a Tourette's diagnosis. She had severe tics. She was doing burpees, the exercise that we all hate, thousands of times a day. Her knees were bruised. She could not control her movements. And, we knew once we were able to test, we were able to look at her comprehensive neuroimmune analysis that histamines were a big deal for her. But it wasn't histamines alone. We had to figure out what was driving the histamine response. So if your car's check engine light comes on, this is, my favorite analogy, do you continue to drive around with the check engine light on? Say yes if you continue to drive around with the check engine light on. Yes, you just keep driving for years and years, ignoring it. So I'm guessing that you don't do that. I'm guessing that you take your car to the mechanic, and your mechanic is going to look under the hood. He's going to hook your car up to the diagnostics and tell you what the heck is going on with your car. What's happening under the hood? This is the same thing for our children. Their tics are a sign that something is going on deeper inside the body. Their tics are their check engine light. Their check engine light is on. But why is that check engine light on? So like I said, we knew histamines once we tested were an issue for Danielle's daughter, but we had to figure out why the histamines were dysregulated in the first place. So it's very important to figure out why. Why is your immune system turned on in the first place? There can be so many reasons that your immune system is turned on, that you are experiencing this overreaction of histamines. Gastrointestinal disorders, leaky gut, inflammatory bowel, underlying infections, candida overgrowth, mycotoxins, which are mold, histamine-rich foods that may block DAO enzymes and trigger histamine release. Basically anything that is turning on and keeping your immune system turned on. So your immune system gets turned on, and then we can't turn it off. And there's actually a genetic component to this. We can actually look at your genes and see, are you genetically predisposed to histamine issues in the first place? Or is it that maybe you are predisposed to some chronic aggressive inflammation, which is a whole other set of genes? But we have to look at, are there underlying infections? Is there leaky gut? Is there food sensitivities? Is there candida or mycotoxins? Are there environmental toxins? What are some of those other drivers that are really turning on and keeping your immune system turned on? So we know that bacterial overgrowth is a really big contributing factor for developing a histamine intolerance. Bacteria grows when food isn't digested properly, causing histamine overproduction. Normal levels of an enzyme called DAO can't break down those increased levels of histamine in the body, which then causes those reactions. So we talked about like migraine headaches, rashes, hives, itchy, watery eyes and nose. So just like tics are not the problem. Tics are a sign that there is a problem within your body. Tics are a sign that something is going on inside the body. Histamines are the same way. Histamines are not the problem. Histamines are a sign that there is a problem, that the immune system is somehow dysregulated. So here's why, histamines may not be the problem that you think they are. Only a very small percentage of the population, about 1 to 3%, actually has histamine intolerance. And like I said, we can look at the genes for that. It is a very small piece of the population. So when we're looking at kids, adults, people who might have mast cell activation syndrome, we're just saying, okay, you have mast cell activation syndrome. You just have this, instead of looking at really what is going on deeper in the body. So like I said, many of you have probably been in other groups talking about mast cell activation and histamines, and they're only looking at the reaction in the body. We're not looking at why our immune system is turned on in the first place. So when I'm telling people histamines may not be the problem that you think they are, if I have a client who has some candida overgrowth or a lot of candida overgrowth, but they're having these histamine reactions, we need to know that there is this candida overgrowth going on. Do all of my clients have candida overgrowth? No, they do not. And that's why this is a very individualized process, is because we need to know what's going on inside your child's body. So we have to figure out why the immune system is dysregulated. And that is why we use comprehensive neuroimmune analysis. We're going to look at 935 different biomarkers so that we can really nail down what is going on inside your child's body. So it isn't just about, oh, there's a histamine reaction. It's about, why is there a histamine reaction? You have to be asking why, especially when we know that only 1 to 3% of the population actually suffers from a genetic histamine intolerance. We have to look at what are these drivers of aggressive inflammation and immune system dysregulation within your child's body. So we talked about why histamines are actually an important part of your immune system. We talked about how they can impact tics, and we looked at those studies. You can look on PubMed with histamine dysregulation and tic disorders. There's several studies, but they're not looking at, well, why is are we having this histamine dysregulation? We're only looking at there is a histamine dysregulation. And again, we can simply just write it off. We push it under the rug. And really, histamines are not the problem that you think they are. They really are not. I will tell you, out of the hundreds of clients I've worked with, they are really not that impactful. And I would say for a few, yes, we've had to work through some histamine issues, but it's not every single one of my clients. And it's a very individualized process for sure. So everybody that's watching, with that being said, I hope that you guys have some more information and understanding about why histamines are important, the role they play, in the body, and why they're really not the problem that you think they are.